So thank you for joining us tonight here live, and for the people tuning in at home, I'd like to thank you as well. I just want to take a moment again and thank the City of Treasure Island for hosting the event tonight. We initially were scheduled to be at City Hall in Madeira Beach, but there was a conflict and with our original location. I immediately called Mayor Payne, and without a moment's hesitation, he arranged to have this program happen here tonight. So we cannot thank you enough, Mayor. So he took it upon himself, and we thank not just you, but the commission, City Manager Amy Davis, who I see way in the back over there, and the full staff at the Treasure Island. So thanks to everybody involved there, and especially thanks again, Mayor, for getting involved in this so quickly. I'd like to thank Dancing Goats Coffee and Sloppy Joe's Treasure Island for catering the reception tonight. Please, you're all welcome to stay for the reception tonight. If you have never had anything from Sloppy Joe's, shame on you, but we're going to change that tonight. So immediately following the reception in this same room, we'll be having a reception that you're all welcome to. Call your friends, have them come on down. And in the middle, if this isn't exciting enough, you need a little caffeine jolt, Dancing Goats is here, and they're our coffee sponsor tonight. We hope you can stay and join us for the reception afterwards. That's the most applause I've ever got. I truly would like to thank our partners from SPC, Kim Jackson, Sam Jenkins, Aaron Bryce, and her team. It's a pleasure to work with such dedicated professionals, and they are outstanding. St. Pete College Dean Emmanuel Hernandez Augusto is here, or he's on his way, and the members of the business school faculty. They're in managing our young professionals group for the chamber. We have a young professionals group we started this year, and there'll be plenty of them here tonight as well. I would like to ask our chamber board of directors to stand. Would you mind our board standing? There's a few of you here, and Roger's in the back, our chairman in the back. You just stand. I just want to thank you folks for your continued commitment. So I want to thank you for your commitment to our community, and I especially would like to thank you for the trust you've placed in myself and our team. With Jill is here, Corey's here, and Debbie is not here, but she's an integral part of our team. I'd also like, in closing almost, to ask any current and former elected officials to stand and introduce themselves. This way I don't miss anybody. So if you're a current, except for our panel, obviously. If you're a current or a former elected official, or if you're representing an elected official's office, who's in Tallahassee, for example, and you're just representing the office, if you would please rise and tell us who you are quickly. Councilperson Thanos, if you want to start. I'm sorry. Christy Herring, Reddington Shores.
I'm Gary Curtis from North Reddington Beach.
Thank you, Commissioner, for being here. We don't know who this guy is.
John Henderson from Madeira Beach, former mayor. So I know all of you anyhow.
Oh, Commissioner. Oh, Commissioner Scott's here. Commissioner Scott, we have seats up front if you like, and Commissioner Eggers, there's seats reserved up front if you like. Commissioner Scott, why don't you say hello? Former Councilman Fedovich. School Board Member Peters.
Don Peters, South County School Board Member. Olivia Carson, District Director for Congresswoman Luna.
Yes, ma'am.
Karen Rafferty, Commissioner of Bel Air Bluff.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, I think that's just about everyone. So except, last but not least, our panel of mayors. And I'm going to read them off in no particular order. We're going to start, well, I guess maybe we're going north to south. Is that how we did that, Sam? So Mayor Kennedy with Indian Rocks Beach. Mayor Will with Reddington Beach. Oh, no, we're out of order now. We're out of order. Mayor Queen with North Reddington Beach. Vice Mayor Hendrickson with Reddington Shores. Mayor Rostick with Madeira Beach. Mayor Payne with Treasure Island. And my old friend Mayor Henderson from the city of Gulfport. And it now gives me great pleasure to sit with you and introduce, before I do, our host, Al Rochelle.
All right. Hello, 1, 2, there we go. Well, thank you for all being here. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for making up my own mind about the issues and not doing a McDonald's drive-through for the way you feel politically. I hope that you are engaged, but the fact that you are is a good token that we are. The way this is going to work is that I've already got 4 or 5 really good questions, but I was always going to incorporate them in our program as well. So we aren't repetitive about your questions. We're going to talk about economic development, hurricane lessons from Ian, this thing called home rule, mayors working together, and potential land mines that could impact beach communities. So we're going to start out right away. And what I do is I'll call out an order, and mayors, since I don't want to just say, Mayor, can you answer that? We'll be going by first name all the way around. And I'm going to start out with, at the very end, and then we'll work our way down with Tyler Payne. First, tell me the size of your city, and tell me what makes it unique. And we're all going to try to do all these answers in under a minute. So if they're short on purpose so we can get 7, 8, 9 questions answered. Go ahead, Tyler.
Sure. Well, we have about 3 miles of beach in Treasure Island. Our population is about 6,500 people. And I think what makes Treasure Island very unique is we have very distinct neighborhoods. We have Paradise Island, Sunset Beach, Isle of Palms, Isle of Capri. So we have a great mix of residential life and tourism life, and kind of have those neighborhoods set back away from the touristy areas. So we have a really great balance between our tourism industry and our residences, and we coexist beautifully.
Great. David Will.
All right, I'm the mayor of Reddington Beach. We are a little over 1 square mile, and we have about 1,500 residents. So what makes our beach unique from everybody else is that we are completely residential. So we are a great place for families, and also we have that incredible small town feel, and our goal is to try to keep it that way.
Bill Queen.
Bill Queen, North Reddington Beach. Our town is 1,500 people. It's 1 mile of beautiful beach. What separates us is we're a microcosm of what St. Pete Beach is. We were incorporated in '53. This is our 70th year anniversary today. Thank you.
Great. Joanne Kennedy.
Cookie.
Cookie. You want to be called Cookie. Okay.
It's all good. Indian Rocks Beach has approximately 4,000 people. We have 28 beautiful free accesses that you can come and visit our awesome community. We have a food pantry. We have approximately 4,000 people. We have a historical museum, and our city is used as an example when describing how a small city functions fiscally responsible with incredible infrastructure that we keep very sound.
Jim Rostek.
Jim Rostek, newly elected mayor of Madeira Beach. Our city, we have about a 2-mile-long swath of beach. From there, obviously, we have Johns Pass Village, which is the tourist mecca for Pinellas County. We have approximately 4,000 residents. We have a mix of commercial, residential, and condos. It's a wonderful barrier island.
Sam Henderson.
All right, Sam Henderson, Mayor of Gulfport. We were about 11,500 people. Our population actually went down a little bit according to the census, but on any given day, depending on snowbirds and transient visitors, that can vary by quite a bit. We're about 3 square miles. About 1 of that is water, and one thing that's a little different about us is that we are on Bocaciega Bay as opposed to being on the Gulf, and we are also fighting the ravages of development. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Lisa Hedrickson.
I also am newly elected to the town of Reddington Shores. We are approximately 1.19 miles, and we have 2,200. And that is that of all the barrier islands, we have a really good balance of tourism in addition to full-time and part-time residents. We're a small, quaint, comfy town. We're kind of like Cheers, where you can come and everybody knows your name. We also have 3 parks in our small town, and they are highly utilized by our residents and visitors each day. So come visit if you haven't been to Reddington Shores.
All right, let's pass the microphone all the way down the other end of the table again, and we're going to start out with the first topic, which is a real hot topic, one that was mentioned in several of the questions from the audience. It's called home rule. We'll leave it at that. The 2023 legislative session is almost in the books, and there are going to be programs that are going to be on the books that you may not like. So what is the impact specifically on your community, good, bad, and indifferent? and which ones stink the most in your mind? David, we start with you.
Well, as far as the topic of home rule is you participating in your community, you being able to shape the look, the feel, the character of your community. Anytime the legislature preempts your ability, it silences your voice. Since 2010, there's been over 90 preemption bills. Everybody's familiar with short-term rentals. That is a result of preemption. So make sure that you participate in your town and that you also connect with your legislators to let them know how you feel and you want your voice to be heard. I mean, whether you're pro or against something is irrelevant. It's the discussion that we want to be able to have, and the preemption takes that discussion away.
Bill, you're next. We were talking earlier about the whole notion that all of a sudden your city are going to have elections where you have to declare whether you're a Republican or Democrat.
Skip that one. Let me go to the one about the referendum.
Referendum.
The referendum is more important because it takes away the voice of the people. What they're going to do is they're going to eliminate any referendums for zoning of land use. And when you take away the voice of the people, you're taking away all of your rights to speak out. That one is terrible.
Cookie, same thing for you. Which one do you not like that's coming out of the legislature?
Well, David Wills and I, Mayor Wills, we were just in Tallahassee fighting for SB 714 and also HB 833, and these are short-term rental bills. And the interesting part about this bill is even the people with short-term rentals don't like this bill, so we're trying to figure out who does like this bill. And I think we did a great job. One of the things that I've talked to my attorney about is that the Florida Constitution was written in 1838, and the spirit of the Constitution talks about local governance and that the elected officials are at the local level are closest to the people. And somehow that is missing at the Florida legislature. I don't know how that's happened. When we were up speaking in front of the legislatures, it was very obvious in one meeting that when it came time to vote, several of the legislators got up and walked out. And you know, at first we were like, where are they going? Well, they left so that they wouldn't have to vote in committee on the bill one way or the other. And it's, you know, do we know? Do the people in this state, there are 100+ cities out of 420+ communities in Florida that have lost their grandfather clause and are regulated now by the state. Do those cities know that they may have a legislator who walked out of a meeting and didn't vote on this very important issue?
Jim?
Well, there's multiple. Okay. I would like to hone in on the sovereign immunity where the different municipalities, there's a cap on that on the lawsuits now. And if the one bill goes through, the end cap could be eliminated to where a particular city, smaller in size, would enter into litigation that it could wipe out your reserves. I think that is a significant issue and drive insurance rates up for all the municipalities. And I tag on to the other mayors here with the short-term rental potential issues there of taking the local municipalities' rights away. I think each municipality has their own nuances, and they know best how to deal with them and to take care of business. And to allow someone else to come in and do that is just not the way to do business.
Sam?
I'll take the one that you initially asked about, HB 405. So in addition to home rule putting requirements on you that can end up being unfunded mandates, putting prohibitions on what you can regulate in your town where you know yourself the best, it's overreach. But in addition to that, now this bill, HB 405, is looking to take away the ability of municipalities to decide how they hold their elections. So this bill would actually make municipal elections partisan, where someone has to declare what party they're with or if they're not with a party at all. And I think we've seen the vitriol that's become all too commonplace in federal and state government. I'm sure many of us sitting up here and those folks in this room who have served before have seen the tone change over the years, and how much more, I mean, hateful is really a good word, that things can get, and unprofessional, certainly beyond decorum. And I think this is just asking to turn it even more divisive than it is, because the issues that divide us is whatever party you're in. When you're talking about matters of municipality, you're talking about the same problems. And I think taking the ability for those elections to be nonpartisan is a huge mistake, and it's just asking to increase the divide in an already divided country. And taking that down to the municipal level, I think it's a huge mistake.
Lisa?
So there's a plethora of bills in the legislation right now, and my colleagues here really highlighted the main issues. Coming before you with a background in risk management, I too have concern over the Sovert immunity law. I think, Sovert immunity, the home preemptions, the short-term rentals, the local elections trying to be pushed through as partisan. All of these are major, major issues, but the one thing that concerns me the most comes from the heart, and that is, what is the fate of our small towns for the future? It's extremely important. How are we going to survive some of these home rule issues coming down, taking away our authority to be able to run our cities like our residents want us to run them? So in totality, what is the fate of our small towns?
Tyler?
Yep. Another example of something that was going through this legislative session that would have really had a big impact on us on the beaches, but fortunately did not go through, and it's now dead, was they were considering so in Treasure Island, our trash collection for our businesses, we have one provider that we contract with the city that provides our multifamily condos and our businesses their trash collection. This bill would have required us to not be able to do that contract and have it be an open free-for-all for any business or condo to contract directly with the trash agency of their choice. So we would have had Waste Management, Waste Pro, Solar Sanitation, every single trash company out there in Pinellas County on the roads of Treasure Island on different days of pickup, clogging up our streets, which are already clogged up with traffic enough. So this group and our local elected officials were vocal about that and why that would be bad for our residents. So I encourage you all to also get involved. I'm on the board of directors for the Florida League of Cities, and I'm the president of the Suncoast League of Cities, and we work very hard to form relationships with our legislators so that we can provide them this kind of feedback. And the Florida League of Cities has a program called Local Voices United, and you can go to localvoicesunited.com, and this is a program specifically for residents to get involved, get looped in on what's going on, and make your voices heard to our legislators in Tallahassee.
Yeah, and I just want to be fair in that I didn't mean to start out this by picking on the legislature and just saying, oh, these are all the bad things that you have done, because there are plenty of good things I'm sure they've done, and I want to make sure that we keep it in the spirit of these are the things that are concerning your cities and that need to be addressed. They either were or weren't. I was also kind of shocked to find out that some of your lawmakers have not sought your counsel in terms of many of these proposals that were presented. That was information you brought to me. So let's move on. It's fair to say on the beaches there's a balance between what's good for the environment and economic growth. How do you navigate encouraging growth without shortchanging the environment or growing so big and so fast residents are feeling like they are being pushed out? Bill, let me start with you.
Well, the main thing that we did is we control the density of any new buildings going in. So if you come in and you build a new place, it's got to be a certain density, so it's not going to impact the infrastructure. It's not going to change the way the city looks. People have spoken loud and clear that we have to have change, but we need to control change, and that's what we're trying to do.
Cookie?
We've encompassed a smart growth vision in Indian Rocks Beach. We have a 3-story over parking, and we have multiple businesses in Indian Rocks Beach. So I'm a small business person for over 35 years in our community. So I feel like we also have to protect our small businesses, make sure that we coexist with each other. We have, we continue to monitor the changes in red tide, beach nourishment. We'll probably all talk about that. We have groups in our town called Greentown Kids where our new families are teaching their children about recycling, growing vegetables. So we're trying to coexist with our environment, but also in an economic way to our residents love our restaurants and frequent them and sustain them. So throughout the year, even when our tourists are not as much as they are the rest of the year.
Jim?
Well, this is a hot topic in Madeira Beach that I've jumped into. I fully understand, as the city does, when an entity buys a piece of property, they're allowed to build on it. Where we run into problems is when we allow not enough citizen input. And that's one of the things that I would like to move forward with is it's always got to be a three-way street. It's got to be what the developer builder wants, what the city's needs are, and what the residents' expectations are. But with that, there's the potential to incorporate leadership in energy and environmental design, more green buildings, water conservation. We have to look at transportation. Gulf Boulevard, well, you can't widen it. So then we have to look at potential alternate transportation and keep things under control there. Whereas we have an evacuation situation, we can get everybody off the islands. That's huge. We need to make sure that all of our infrastructure, our water, our sewer, our reclaimed water, all of that can support the development. And as long as we do that and everybody comes together and forms a union and everybody can agree to disagree on some things, but in the end come up with a finished product, I think development can be allowed and it should move forward in some instances.
Sam?
All right. Well, one of the things that we've done in Gulfport is we've got height restrictions on how tall you can build. We've also got setbacks for how much you can build on a piece of property, and we've provided incentives for when someone's going to build a new structure. You can build larger, but there's some incentives that expedite the process and save you some hassle and time and money along the way if you choose to build within a smaller envelope in order to keep that scale, because so much of in a small town, scale kind of dictates character. And one of the things we are struggling with now is folks coming in and wanting to build right out to the setbacks, building larger. And we've got some developers that have been less than forthcoming and honest about what they're doing with those properties when they come in, and that's been a battle for us for sure. But to speak to what you said before about not throwing the legislature and the state senate completely under the bus, there are some things that are potentially there that could help us out in that realm. The fact that we might get the ability back to regulate single-use plastics and styrofoam is one of them that's been taken away for a long time. And a lot of our businesses have been very keen to go down that road voluntarily. So just to speak to what you mentioned about some positives coming down the pipe as well. But that's a battle. I mean, we've got this many people. That's going to have an impact. An urban environment of almost 1 million people with this county has a major impact on our waters. And, like I said before, in Florida, your wealth is your waters, and we got to protect that.
Yep. Lisa?
So in Redington Shores, we navigate a lot of redevelopment. So we really put a focus on our building codes, our inspections, and we have the regulatory, of course, framework for land use planning and, the protection of sensitive areas. To get a little bit granular on this question, when it focuses on recycling, at our town hall, we host a recycle drop-off container. So it's a large container in a portion of our parking lot, and a lot of our residents come so that they feel they can, contribute to the recycling programs as well. We've also recently established a beautification committee. And this committee has really embraced recently the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program, which is a partnership with the University of Florida, the Pinellas County Extension Office, as well as the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And this program together hosts workshops and classes They just recently came to our commission meeting and talked about the appropriate plants and landscaping advice to our residents on how to beautify their personal lands, but also remain eco-friendly as well. And so those are the things what we're doing in
All right.
Reddington.
Tyler?
Yep. Well, likewise, in Treasure Island, we have heightened density restrictions that have been spoken on loud and clear by our residents, so we aren't planning on changing those. We also allow multi-use, mixed use in designated areas of town, but something hot off the presses, we were just certified as a Lead for Cities Gold entity just yesterday or today. Silver, sorry. No, gold. Yeah, we said silver, and it was actually gold. So that's something, we're in the company of 130 other local governments around the country. So we're leading by example and trying to, with our new city hall right down the street, which will be finished this summer, hopefully, we're really putting a lot of effort into making sure that we are putting resiliency and sustainability at the forefront. We even have a sustainability coordinator, Stacy Boyles, in the back. She's amazing and coordinates everything that we're doing from a sustainability and a resiliency perspective. So we're definitely keeping our eyes on how Treasure Island can be above water for years to come and be a dry place that people can continue to live on the barrier islands.
David?
All right, well, we are a single-family residential community, and our setbacks, our density, our height restrictions were all set back in the 50s, and our residents have made it very clear they don't want to see that change. And any land use change by our charter would require a referendum vote of the people plus an act of God.
Right. Well, last year, Hurricane Ian caused greater damage to the Southwest Florida beach communities than anyone had even planned for. We have relatives who lost their home, my brother and my brother-in-law as well. And in talking with a lot of the firefighters down there, they were shocked to find, particularly on Fort Myers Beach, that a lot of the shelters they were told would be all right were not all right. And they detached from the original structures, and then when the high waters came in, they literally became bulldozers that crushed people. Did anything change in your community as a result of what happened with Ian as far as hurricane preparedness? Cookie, you're first.
Recently, Mayor Payne from Treasure Island, Vice Mayor Kathleen Beckman from Clearwater, our staffs, we traveled to Sanibel and we had a 4-hour meeting with their staff and their mayor, and we talked about the aftermath and what they went through so that we could kind of prepare in the future for such a hurricane. And with that, it was informative. It gave us pause to reflect on living in a county that is built out. We discussed evacuations, reentry, funding issues, debris removal, and city plans during a hurricane. We discussed getting heavy equipment off the island and technology and different ways that we could do it in the future. I think it was very informative. I'm sure that Mayor Payne will talk a little bit about it. But another thing that came up was the problem that we are all having now with insurances. And I don't know about you, but I was dropped for the first time in my whole life, my insurance this year. And that's one of the things that has not come up with the legislators. And we think that that's something that we should be looking at in the future is how do we get the legislators to engage with us about insurances, homeowners, flood, and wind.
Jim?
With Madeira Beach, we have recently had our Hurricane Expo, I guess a week and a half or so ago. It was well attended. The fire department has updated their emergency plan. Madeira Beach now has a high water vehicle, so we don't run $1 million fire apparatus through situations that they shouldn't. Madeira Beach Fire also has a plan if we do have to evacuate, and the fire department, even though it's elevated, has to exit the island. They have a place to shelter, to conduct operations there. And just everybody needs to know that this could have been us. Madeira Beach has got a significant potential issue where we have so many homes that were built before there were land development codes that are not up to hurricane standards by any stretch of the imagination, and they would more than likely be long gone. Now, some of them may have been upgraded, but there's a significant amount that have not. I urge everyone to stay vigilant with the weather. Never say it can't happen to us, because it can, and it may. Have your evacuation plan, have your ditch bag ready to go, so if the information comes out that there needs to be an evacuation, please heed that, because after wind speeds and conditions deteriorate to a certain amount, it's unsafe for the fire department to come out, and they won't, that you're on your own. And I don't think we want anybody in that realm of you're on your own and we can't help you.
Sam?
I think all of us sitting up here are keenly aware how vulnerable we are being coastal communities, and I know we were all holding our breath for Michael, for Ian, for Irma. We'll be holding our breath for others. So that being said, I think what we all try to do the most is communicate to our residents what we're offering, what the status of the storm is, and as more opportunities for communication come up, make sure that we're staying on top of sharing information with the folks who live there. The biggest concern I have is complacency. After so many times of being missed, whether if it's something superstitious, if you think it's something atmospheric, that we're in a protected zone. I know you've heard all these things, but at some point we're going to get it. And my concern is that after we tell people, prepare, better to be prepared and not need to be prepared than to get caught, unawares and suffer some kind of loss from it. So I just would urge people to not be complacent. Pay attention to what your local governments put out there. They are working in conjunction with all the folks at the county, state, and federal level above that. So don't get complacent. When it's time to go, do what's recommended.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to get caught. Thank you.
Lisa?
So the devastation is real. We all saw it, personally affected by it. It just kind of hits home how important our building codes are and that they really do mean something. But the reality is they don't completely protect us. And so what Redington Shores did is we focused on enhancing our speaker system and our siren system for our residents. And we put a main focus on compliance of evacuations. And so I'm proud to say that as a result of Ian threatening to come forward to us, we had our most successful evaluation response from our residents, and it was reported that 80% of our residents evacuated in the threat of Ian. And lastly, our emergency management teams like to consider hurricane parties exciting, because this is where they get to exercise all their knowledge and experience at the beginning of hurricane season to do hurricane education. And so they refer to hurricane education as hurricane parties because they get to reevaluate their processes, their preparations. They get to educate our community. And of course, we've purchased a few more assets this year in regards to generators and portable ACs and so on for our emergency management team as well.
Tyler?
Yeah, like Mayor Kennedy said, we had the chance to go down to Sanibel and see the devastation. I mean, it was 5 months after the storm hit, and it was still jaw-dropping to see the state of that island. So really very impactful for us, and we did learn a lot of lessons, which we had our fire chief with us. He's our emergency operations coordinator, and he took lots of notes and gave a presentation to the city commission a month or so ago. If anyone wants to watch that, I can get you that information. But what took me by surprise the most was when we went out to the beach with the Sanibel mayor and saw the beach. There were like ravines and gullies along the beach where the dune crossovers and the walkways out to the actual sandy beach had just completely washed away. So there were these like canyons in the dune system because that's where the dunes had not grown in. So they had the crossovers are just sand that had been continued to be raked up so that you can walk out there. And that's where, when the water came over the island and then had to leave again, it took all the sand in those walkways with it. So that was really eye-opening, and just, I think they said that they're gonna need a $30 million beach renourishment to restore their beach to where it was before. So that's something we need to be watching here, is how we're going to coordinate with the state and the county to do that. But I agree, communication is key. Our public information officer did an outstanding job communicating with our residents for Ian, and I know everyone was very prepared. And we also have a Hurricane Expo that's open to anyone to come to right here in City Hall on May 31st at 6:30 p.m.
David?
One of the biggest changes for us was the attitude of our residents. When the storm was approaching, we gave out 5,000 sandbags, and we asked our residents afterwards if everything's okay, bring the sandbag, put it back on the pile. And after the storm, when the residents were coming back, after witnessing on television the devastation down there, they said, this was a waste of time filling up sandbags. I'm just going to go. So that's a good sign there.
Bill?
Best point ever made is you have to have a plan, know what's going on. If you see the storm coming, get off the beach. You've got to evacuate. I don't want to see 20% of my people dead, and that's what would happen if they stayed here during a 15-foot storm surge. So evacuation's key. Also, building up that sand out there on that beach, and we'll talk about that later on, but that beach renourishment is very important to all of us.
Now that all of you had a chance to talk, and there's so many questions here, and time is a huge constraint, so what I'm trying to do is keep things really moving. So I'm going to ask some of these questions, and then if one of you can answer, you raise your hand and answer the question, and unless you've got something really pertinent to say to add to that, let's just try to get as many of you answering as many questions as possible, because these, I think, are really, really good questions. Here's the first one. Why is it so difficult to obtain a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers?
I can take that. I can't give you an answer, but I can tell you that we have a project that is ready to go, a living shoreline all around our golf course right over here at Treasure Bay that we have completely funded from the state and some of our funding here, totally ready to go. It's been sitting with the Army Corps of Engineers since December, and no approval. And it is supported by a Tampa Bay Estuary program, the state, the city, the county, like everybody is behind. That's just a total common sense project, and we have no idea what they're waiting for.
Yep.
Ask somebody who the Army Corps of Engineers answers to. Who do they answer to? There's the question.
Well, give me the
Nobody.
answer.
Nobody.
Nobody.
They do what they want to do. They have no common sense. That's why we're running into a problem.
Well, that's a hopeful answer. There we go. So here's another topic they want to know about. And, okay, I almost hit somebody on an e-bike just pulling into this parking lot. This, you got e-bikes, scooters, and rollerboards on the sand. I've witnessed top speeds coming within inches of what can be done about that? Any one of you want to answer that? Well, you all rollerboard to work every day?
This is something that the Big C has, so the Barrier Island Government Council, all of us except Gulfport sit on, and we have talked a lot about micromobility, and all of us, I believe, have implemented micromobility ordinances that govern where those devices can and cannot be rode. So in Treasure Island, you can't ride them on the sidewalks. They need to be in bike lanes. Cannot ride them on e-bikes, are not allowed on the beach, on the sand. So we collaborated on that and tried to make our rules as uniform as possible. We all have our little differences in our cities that require slightly different rules, but by and large, I think we all have taken a similar
So how many
approach.
people have been ticketed? Anybody put in jail? Anybody?
Education. Education. We're trying to teach them all
Okay.
instead of giving them tickets.
Don't arrest them and teach them all.
And that is one good thing about one of the bills that's coming through, HB 915, SB 106, recognizing trail towns. I know we're the only one up here that the Pinellas Trail passes through, but there's a lot of trails that branch off and connect to the Pinellas Trail here in Pinellas County. And one of my concerns is the safety of people crossing the road. I see a lot of people just hitting that button and going. Just because you hit that button doesn't mean there's a force field around you. So I just encourage people to look before you hit that button, and for people who are driving, to really pay attention to those crossings. We're already high up on the list of pedestrian, bicycle, motorcycle fatalities and injuries, and I'd really like to see that come down, and hopefully that Trail Towns will provide some educational funding through that program if it passes through the state.
Well, I have been hit 4 times. I'm still alive to tell about it, and I've gotten 3 brand new bicycles. Woo! So you're right about having to be careful. Here was another question about budgets. We know that when times are good, people want to know, why are taxes going up, or are they going up, and what can be done to make sure that those are rates that can be livable? Anybody?
Look at where your taxes are spent. If the taxes are being spent back on your town, they're being spent well. So I would question you, if you change your tax rate, you are then, because of the legislature in the past, you're limited to how much you can raise it in the future. So you got to be very careful about reducing it.
Okay.
We haven't changed our millage rate in a dozen years.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. We found one that works during lean times that we established back before 2010, and we have still today at 4.039, and it seems to be one that works during prosperity, and I think that's just key. As opposed to jumping around every year trying to make those adjustments. You need to get some stability in where you're at.
So how many people here are happy with your tax rate? Oh my gosh.
Gary, you better be happy with,
let me
we have
ask
the
that
lowest tax
question
rate
one more
around.
time. How many of you are happy with your tax rate? Millage rate, I don't care, whatever comes out of your pocket.
You're asking 2 different things. Millage rate and tax rate, 2 different
This is a smart audience. Explain the difference
Well,
between those, if you would,
And
Tyler.
something to point out is that a very small portion of your property taxes comes to the city. There's a lot that goes into your tax rate. The county, the Pinellas County Schools is a big chunk of your taxes. So if you want to talk to somebody, we have a school board member here in the front row for that one.
The other thing, each one of these towns has a different millage rate. So I have the lowest millage rate of anybody sitting up here at 1. At 1? You're less than 1?
181.
Mine is 1.
Oh, boy. We're
I'll
going
do
to
the
have a
math for
problem
you later.
here. Another question that I had with you, ladies and gentlemen up here. You talked about whether the legislature is responding to what you have. What organization do you have that goes with a united voice to your lawmakers and say, hey, we speak for all the people along the beaches? What's your organization? Because I'm not sure that everybody knows here exactly what it is that mayors do sometimes.
Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, Pinellas League of Mayors, Florida League of Cities, Suncoast League of Cities. I mean, we've got several options in there. The problem is not that we don't put our voices out there through multiple venues. The problem, I feel, is that we need more municipal elected officials getting these jobs with the state Senate and state legislature who remember where they came from and how important home rule is.
Okay.
And
Tyler, go ahead.
absolutely, and I think like Senator Hooper is a great example of that. He was a City of Clearwater council member, and he gets it. When we meet with Senator Hooper, he gets it. He was named the Florida League of Cities Home Rule champion this past year. So there are members of the legislature that do listen, and I don't want to diminish them as whole, like you mentioned. There is a lot of stuff that they work on. Our representative, Linda Cheney, has been an amazing champion for our city, and I know others in the area in getting us funding. We just found out yesterday that we're getting $1 million of funding from the state to build a new fire and police station in Treasure Island. So they are doing good things.
Yeah.
So that's money that we don't have to use your taxpayer dollars for that are coming into the city. We're getting that from the state, which helps us keep that millage rate low. But I do want to make sure that there are good things, and as the Suncoast League of Cities, we set a priority list every year. We're focusing on that sustainability, resiliency, and there is a lot of good stuff going through the legislature when it comes to resiliency and sustainability.
So one thing we said we're going to talk about a little bit more in detail is beach renourishment. For those of us that live along the beaches, we know that it's a life and death situation. It's not just aesthetics. It's not just protecting the buildings. It's protecting the way of life. And people tend to forget that barrier islands existed before we did. And the purpose of barrier islands, maybe in God's good grace, was to protect the rest of the mainland from getting hit. So beach renourishment, where do you all stand? Are you happy with what you have right now? Or are any of you in a situation where, hey, we need the sand and we need it now? Cookie.
We have such a problem that I actually traveled with Janet Long, our chair of our county commission, to Washington. We went to the White House. We were in the West Wing. We spoke with the intergovernmental affairs person for the president. We had meetings with Anna Luna, our representative, and Kathy Castor. We put together a plan. They are all working together. We also, as the beach mayors, you know, when you mentioned the last question, we have the Big C, the Barrier Island Governmental Council. We have all been asked to speak at the Florida League of Cities. Mayor Queen and I spoke about short-term rentals and home rule. We also have, that was Plan B. Now we have a Plan C because we were turned down by the Corps of Engineers. So we have been able to open up the process, and we are moving as slowly. But in our Plan C, you talk about the Plan C.
So we have a backup plan for the Army Corps failing us, and the backup plan is Pinellas County. So we've met with every Pinellas County commissioner, and we've got assurances that they're behind us to help us renourish. Renourishment basically affects three places: St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island, and Sand Key. Sand Key is the largest portion of that. It's about $45 million. So that's the one that's not being funded by the Army Corps. Army Corps is going to fund St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island, but not Sand Key. And that's the one we're working on with the county to make sure we get that.
The Sand Key project. And I wanted to add, for instance, Mayor Queen has 0% of sand left right now. So even if the normal date that we were supposed to start having the sand renourished was 2024. And our city has 23%. Bel Air Beach, who isn't here tonight, they have 0 sand left. So that's where we're at. And, you know, without sand, what about if we have a storm? What about our turtles? You know, all of the ecosystem, all of the things, the homes that are on the Gulf, the safety of the homes. So there's multiple issues that come from us not being able to seal the deal at this point with beach renourishment.
Tyler?
Our last nourishment in Treasure Island, mainly, we have Sunset Beach and Sunshine Beach that get beach nourishment. And in Sunset Beach, we have negative 6.5% of the sand that was put on the beach in 2018 is still there. Negative. So all the sand that was put on the beach and more is gone. We have dune crossovers that can't be used anymore because there's so much sand has been lost. And when you get home, check your driveway for the beach beacon. On the front page, we just had is an article about the conversation that we just had as a commission with our county staff who's in charge of beach renourishment and talking about what the implications of this. And there's an issue with the northern beaches and the not variances, the easements that they have to get. So they're being held up. They can't even do their nourishment because of this easement issue. But then when they do get to it, where we're going to get nourishment at the end of this year, beginning of 2024, we still all have an issue on how they're doing it. The Army Corps of Engineers is putting this sand on the beach, and it's disappearing, as we're seeing, within 4 years. And our last nourishment was in 2018. It's supposed to be on a 4-year cycle. We still haven't had it done. And that's why we're so far beyond and why our sand is all gone. We have to the Army Corps has to re-engineer how this is being done because the way they're doing it isn't working. And they're not considering alternative ways.
Maybe we need a town hall with the Army Corps of Engineers. Can we arrange that? I don't know. You know, you guys, you know how to do that, right? We'd all show up. Nobody would have pitchforks, I don't think. Yeah.
With Madeira Beach, we've been in the process of attempting to get the permits for Johns Pass into the previous administration, so that's been well over a year, and we still don't have an idea when that's going to be permitted. In addition to that, we're in the permitting process with the Army Corps of Engineers for the beach groin renourishment program. So we have no timetable whatsoever. I guess the wrong trees aren't being shaken, or we don't know who to shake to at the federal level, that this is critical for everybody to be able to have this renourishment in a reasonable amount of time, because by the time we finally get it, we might as well start the process for 10 years down the road because it may take that long to get these permits.
David?
We need to harden the beaches, is what we're trying to say to you.
Sure.
We need to find something to harden that thing so that we don't have to renourish all the time.
And one of the things we're hoping for, I think, across the board is that the resiliency grants that are being addressed in a couple of these bills end
Yep.
up having some funding available for things that do help with hardening the coastline.
One more
things like
comment.
that.
The emergency management director for Pinellas County came out and spoke at a mayor's council meeting and stated that a fortified beach is an excellent defense against hurricanes.
And one last question along that, because everybody's probably been, how many of you have been up to Jacksonville or any of those areas, or the Carolina beaches where the houses are set so far back and they have these huge dunes? Are our dunes ever going to get any bigger, or are they, I don't want to call them just...
That's the Army Corps' solution for us. So that part of the meeting was that in 2028 or further out, they have plans. That's their new design, is to protect the beaches, is to have a larger dune system that would be about 10 feet above base elevation, not necessarily 10 feet on top of what the beach is now, but
Yeah.
a 10-foot dune that would protect the upland properties, but also keep the sand on the beach. That's what their engineers are saying is what we need to do.
Well, our time
Which I'm
has just gone
skeptical.
by so fast. I want to appreciate, let's give all the mayors a round of applause if you would. And I want to put in a good plug for the Institute of Strategic Policy Solutions. I knew the congressman when this organization was put together, and there are so few places where you get kind of unfiltered conversations. It seems these days, and I'm getting editorial, but I'm not on TV anymore, so I can. You know, is that we need to have conversations, because the way you get good government is through good policy. So it's no surprise that the Institute's goal is to get the information out to you, talk about the policy and initiatives that are in place or going to be put into place, and then give you an opportunity to sound off, and so that you're well informed when you go to the voting booth. So with that said, let's go to the ISPS website, visit it often. I'm sure this program will be up on there, Kimberly. And there are a lot of other great programs that talk about how you can get involved in government. And I just want to say thank you so much for showing up, mayors and vice mayor. Thank you so much. And I wish we would have eaten before instead of after, because I got to run. Thanks, folks. We appreciate you.